สวัสดีค่ะ very good evening and welcome to Thai PBS World Tonight.
Good evening, and we'll begin tonight with the COVID-19 test requirements at several private schools. We have reported before that many schools in Thailand have reopened since the beginning of this month, but some have closed soon after due to the ongoing spread of the virus. Now, several parents have complained about the cost of weekly antigen COVID-19 tests, which are required by many private schools, even though this is actually not a requirement by the Education Ministry. So the ministry has clarified that it does not require students to be subject to this weekly antigen test for COVID-19, and that such tests are required only when there are infections at school or nearby communities, following many parents' demand to the ministry to cover the expenses for the antigen test kits or ATKs. Education Permanent Secretary Supat Jampatong said today that many privately owned schools have set their own standards, which are actually more than what is really laid down by the ministry. He said the private schools requiring the test actually should be responsible for procuring the ATKs with their own funds instead of putting the burden onto the parents, and the ATKs themselves, whoever pay for it, must meet the standards set by the Thai Food and Drug Administration or FDA, or of the same brands approved by the FDA as well. He also recommended parents to perhaps negotiate it with the schools to work out the solution on who should bear the cost of the ATKs, or whether maybe both parties can work out on sharing the cost, for example. So some parents, complain that since they have 2 or 3 children in schools, and the spending is actually much more than those with just one kid, and it could cost like several hundred baht a month, which is a financial burden in this, economic situation during still COVID era.
Right, and meanwhile, Professor Supaset Kanakul, president of the Association Board of Coordination and Promotion of the Private Education, said that private schools have imposed the strict regulation of COVID-19 tests because they have wanted to reduce the risk of their students attending on-site classes during this initial period of the reopening of schools. So we can see that many of the parents disagree with the fact that they have to get tested every single week because spending on the antigen test is already expensive, especially if these families have more than 2 to 3 children as well.
Right, exactly. And well, it's actually hard on anyone's, right? The parents, their businesses might be affected by the pandemic, but so maybe the schools can also help out, but everyone is just being affected by all of this. So better to work out a solution together.
Exactly. But one thing we have to mention though, many of the companies, they have to test the employees every single week. But keep in mind that most of the companies actually pay for the antigen test kits. But why doesn't it apply to students as well when they actually have to come to school every single day? And why do the parents have to pay for the test when the money can be used for something else?
Right. Good point.
Right. And now let's move on to another big issue, especially with the diesel prices, which are currently very high. And this has prompted strikes by a group of truckers. And recently, Thailand's cabinet today has approved a loan from the state oil fund in the amount of 20 billion baht to maintain diesel price at no more than 30 baht per liter for 4 months. The move comes as hundreds of truckers earlier today rallied in protest of the currently high diesel prices, now currently priced between 29 to 35 baht per liter at gas stations nationwide, and demanded the government to bring it down to 25 per liter. So before the cabinet announced its decision to seek a loan to bring the prices down to only 30 baht, the group of truckers under the Land Transport Federation threatened to hike transportation fees by 10%. At a press briefing conducted after the weekly cabinet meeting concluded today, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha asked the federation to not pressure the cabinet and to instead prioritize the country. Saying the government will continue to monitor the world's petrol situation, General Prayut also said he hopes that the prices will go down and return to normal soon. And under the campaign named Truck Power 2, about 500 truckers rallied from across the country and gathered at the Ministry of Energy this afternoon to submit a letter to the ministry about their proposal to bring the prices down to 25 baht per litre by removing palm oil from biodiesel and reducing excise taxes. Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Energy Suphathanapong Panmichao said that the government has used the oil fund to make sure the oil prices does not exceed 30 baht per litre, and it is a policy that it has been going on for a very long time. But more financial means is needed now. The oil prices has reached 34 baht per litre. And he also said that currently the oil fund is running dry despite receiving loans, and it is still not enough to reduce the price to 25 baht.
The cabinet has made the decision, and it's not just the truckers, but of course, I have sympathy for them, but actually it does affect all of us, especially commuters and drivers. Even though you don't really drive, you still have to pay that cost of much higher petrol prices, which actually come in line with the global prices when, a lot of countries in the world are emerging out of lockdowns and with recovered economy. And that actually is the main reason spiking up the prices.
Right. So it does affect every one of us here because a couple of weeks ago, you may have to pay only around 700 to 800 baht for every time you go to the gas station. But in the next couple of weeks, the prices have gone up. You might have to pay more than 1,000 baht, depending on which sort of petrol you're using as well.
Exactly. Now let's move on to what's happening in Krabi. So the Prime Minister and other ministers are visiting the province at the moment and have their so-called mobile cabinet meeting there to see how the reopening has been for the province. And the Prime Minister has received both welcoming and negative feedback while he's there. 5 members of an anti-Prayut group were actually temporarily detained for questioning by police yesterday afternoon after their rally in protest of him and his presence at Ao Nang Beach. So the group held up banners which read, "Krabi people do not want Prayut, Krabi is dying," and murderous government, to greet the Prime Minister and his cabinet, which are attending this cabinet meeting to declare the natural tourist attractions at the popular Ao Nang Beach open before being released 2 hours after. It is also reported that this is not just one group of people doing it, because there are also unidentified protesters who vandalized several banners erected in the Mueang district of Krabi to welcome the minister, the Prime Minister rather, and his entourage. In the meantime, many other banners criticizing the Prime Minister were also put up, which prompt the local authorities to quickly remove them. And the police are also pursuing those responsible as well. And a number of Prime Minister supporters also showed up to welcome him and his cabinet and to voice their opposition to the anti-establishment group's attempt to amend or repeal the country's lèse-majesté law. So you can actually call him a controversial figure when you have, people who love him, really or not, or staged or not, we don't know. And people who actually do, dislike him so much that they they are actually doing this out in the open for him to see.
Right, but it seems like every time he visits different provinces, there's always a group of anti-Prayut following him
Mm,
all along just to show that they're
right.
against General Prayut to begin with. But still in Krabi province, the prime minister's remarks made over there have left people quite puzzled and somehow amused as well. But it also caused quite a stir on social media because he actually recommended people to learn how to swim, exercise, and study two languages. So while General Prayut and other ministers were at an opening ceremony for Krabi's Had Noparatara Mukok PP National Park, the Prime Minister met with some of the locals, saying that today is the day when Thailand is being transformed, and the most important thing is to maintain the country's stability. Without it, there would be chaos, and many countries are keeping an eye on Thailand. And towards the end of his remarks, he asked people who cannot swim to learn how to swim, claiming that he has taught children how to swim before. He said that if you know how to float on water, you will never drown and people will come and help you. But if you drown, of course, you will die. He also suggested that Thai people should also learn to exercise as well as studying two languages to survive. As such suggestions has caused quite a stir on social media. And if we look at the comments on Facebook, whenever which page posted about the prime minister's remarks, some of the netizens just came in to criticize. One of them even asked, so how many languages can the prime minister speak to begin with? And that he should take his own suggestions first, especially the last one where he suggested that you should study two languages to survive.
Mm,
And even one user also said that Thai people would like to suggest that the prime minister should resign so that he has more time to read books at home, learn how to swim, and study English. And these are pretty harsh comments right here, but
right.
frankly speaking, learning how to swim and study two languages rather,
Yeah,
it's
it's
something
actually
that,
quite
yeah,
common. Mm,
extremely common because we've been told since we were young to learn to try on different skills, different sports, and learn different languages. And I'm not sure for you, but like for us,
mm,
we've been asked to learn at least two languages and probably three languages to begin with. So this comes to a big surprise for many of the netizens because studying two languages, even in Thailand, it's considered very normal. And in fact, that at this time, many people would know at least like two languages, and many people would be learning the third or the fourth
right.
language already.
Maybe it also has something to do with, background and generation, right? Like,
Yeah.
because now learning multiple languages is quite common these days. To send your kids to, like, for not just bilingual anymore, it's multi or trilingual already. But maybe back in those days when he grew up, who knows? There's probably not much of a choice, and also the
Right.
background, right? Military training and all that. But one thing that keeps me surprised by his, limited English is that his wife is actually an English teacher.
Right. That's quite surprising as well. But like, yeah, we just like what you said in back in those days, or even up until now, like some of the schools don't really focus on English language classes to
Mm,
begin with. So maybe it may come from that part as well. Because
right.
like when we look at Thailand, not everyone can speak English, to be honest. Like most of the fluent English speakers would be in the cities like Bangkok,
Mm,
Chiang Mai, or like more developed cities rather than rural cities to begin with.
right. And let's end the program with this story. It seems that the Thai born K pop star Lisa or Lalisa Manoban of Blackpink, has been quite an influential figure in Thailand, as she is now also given an honorary award by her hometown of Buriram's Provincial Education Office today for her contribution to education in the province and her role as an example and inspiration for youth here. So the award was in return for her sponsorship and founding of K-pop Learning Center in the province. Actually, I was we got some questions from our followers on social media. What is really a K-pop learning center? But it seems to focuses a lot of training on dancing. So she also helped out a local school to get support from a Korean foundation by arranging a cultural exchange program. So, of course, Lisa is not here in Thailand. So her mother, Jitip Bushweiler, accepted the award on her behalf. The head of the education office of the province expressed his appreciation for Lisa's contribution, saying that she has succeeded at the international level, but has never really forgotten where she came from. And that the K-pop rapper and dancer has become a role model for local children here. The Korean Times also reported that Lisa is interested in creating a cultural space at a school in the province as well. In addition to this K-pop learning center, she also planned to donate more equipment such as computers and projectors to the school in a bid to facilitate performing arts education. The Thai tourism authorities were previously planning to invite her along with Italian opera singer Andrea Bocelli to perform at the New Year countdown celebrations here. South Korea's YG Entertainment, which is Lisa's employer, announced late last month that the Thai star cannot join the event due to other commitments. Right. So good for her for gaining this award, and you can call it well deserved. While she can also, has created opportunities for other kids aspiring to be like her as well. That's really inspirational.
Exactly. So definitely big congratulations to Lisa as well. And she has been definitely a big idol for many Thais as well, who has a dream to become a K-pop star.
Right. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Do catch us like this every weekday at 7 p.m. On YouTube and Facebook for all the top stories, explainers, and you, of course, can't miss our commentaries.
And don't forget to follow us on social media as well as our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ